Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to start? Okay. 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 Hello. I'm Shandell Pino. I'm a guide here on Guidely and Inner Light Academy. I guide people back to their inner light so they can remember who they are and why they came here. So they can remember the path to their own unique happiness. And today we're going to do that through learning and understanding core values, what they are, and how they kind of show up in your own individual life. So I will share my screen. Maybe. Oh.
It says it's trying.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, core values. Present. Can you guys see that?
I can.
Okay. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And you both look beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, so core values. What are core values? So your core values are the foundation of who you are and what you stand for. So they're what you build your best life from. They are inherent part of something that you've held since the beginning of time. So your core values have meant something to you since you were little, and they will continue to mean something to you until you are old. And the expression of those things may change over time as you start to grow up. The expression will change as you begin to have a family or a career. As you begin to get older, the expression of them will change, but the values will always be the same. And we all have certain things that hold meaning to us because it is who we are. It's what makes us us. It's what makes us unique and individual. So our core values are what motivates you. They're what you're attracted to. They're what you seek, and they're what you live for. So when we begin to live from our core values, these are the things that you'll notice, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've thought this my entire life, or this has been something I've always thought, and I just assumed everybody else did. And so that's not always the case. So I'm also going to talk about what core values are not. Your core values are not conditioning. They don't come from your home life. They don't come from your upbringing. You can't be taught. Your parents, your family, your teachers, your churches or religions, they don't teach you what your core values are. They are not societal, meaning society likes to tell us what is accepted and what is not. And so society isn't going to teach you what your core values are. Your core values are also not trauma-based, meaning that what you value doesn't come from what happened to you when you were younger, as you grew up, or as you were older. Core values are not goals. You can't achieve them and be done with it. They are always and continually there. You're always like, okay, now what? Now how do I get this? Now where do we go? And then principles. A lot of times people will get principles and core values confused, but principles are actually the actions that you take based off of your core values. So with core values, you're going to be taught as you grow up. Obviously, you were all older. Your family taught you to value certain things. Your church, your school, your friends, your grandparents have all taught you to value certain things, whether that's kindness, respect, success, money, whatever that looks like. And you will know if it feels right for you or not. It's nice to have some values that you get from your upbringing, but your core values are what speaks to you. You can't be taught them. So I have a mentor and she's like, oh, my family taught me that you had to be nice to everyone. And she's like, I don't care to be nice to everyone. If they don't deserve it, I don't do it. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I was also taught to be nice to everyone, but I like to be nice to people. So, and it's just, you'll know when you're taught a value and when it holds no meaning for you. So how do I know what my core values are? I'm going to share my story with you guys. Do this so I can kind of see. A few years ago, I woke up and I was laying in bed and I just had this overwhelming question of why am I not happy? I have everything that I ever wanted. I have everything that I was ever told I should want. I was married to a very handsome man who made really good money. He was very stable. So gave our family a really nice life. I had two beautiful children. We had just built a house that was really big, had everything you'd ever want, a movie theater, a pool, a large yard. And I was laying there and I'm like, why am I not happy? Like, what is happening? And so then I asked myself, what do these things mean to me? Like, what does it mean to me to have all of these things? And I thought about my kids, and I grew up being told that that's what you do. That's why you're here. You're here to grow up and become a mother. I was taught that from my grandmother, from my mother, and from my church that I went to, that your purpose here in this life is to become a mother. And so I was like, yes, that is my purpose. And I did. And I love my children more than anything. And being their mom is the greatest gift. But there was something else inside me that was like, but there's something more. There's something more for you. Like, you can be this mother and you can be this stay-at-home mom and wife and all of these things. But I just inherently felt like there was something more about me. And I'm like, what is there? What is this more? And I'm like, well, I love to learn. I love to learn all of the things. I love to teach people what I learn. And so I was like, I love to continually grow myself. I like to understand things. And so I'm not just a mom. I also like to learn and understand and teach. And then I thought about all of the material things that we had. And I thought I would give up every single one of these material things for adventure. I want to go and have vacations. I want to go on hikes. It seems so simple, like to just go on a hike. But, you know, and this is of no fault of my ex-husband's, is he built the house so he would never have to go anywhere because he values comfort and I value adventure. And so it just wasn't the perfect match. And it became this thing where I'm like, hey, wait a second, I'm going to live by the things that mean something to me. I want to adventure. And, you know, I was really lucky in the fact that I had a lot of really good friends who were like, heck yes, let's go. And, but we did this, it didn't have to be big, huge trips to Europe or anything like that. It was, there's this new restaurant downtown, let's go try it. And I'm like, adventure. Yes, let's go. And so then I started to ask myself, okay, so where did I learn that these other things should be important to me, that they hold value? And I realized that what I had done and what I had been doing was I had been building my life based off what other people valued, what my mom valued, what my husband valued, what my children valued. And that's just not sustainable. Over time, if you're not living what is valuable to you, if you're ignoring your soul's calling, those soul prompts that says this is what matters to you, it's just not sustainable. You will end up laying there in bed on a Saturday morning going, why am I not happy? What is it? We can't put a finger on it. So when you're going to ask yourself, what are your core values? Oh, I think somebody just tried to enter it in. Okay. Life will teach you what your core values are. Life will continuously put you in value clarifying situations. Life will continue to show you what you don't want and what you do want in life. What makes you feel good and what doesn't. So even as I say that, you're probably already thinking of a few things that you know that's true, right? Like Sandra, you just had a new job and a job, and when you had to go to work, were you like, oh, I love going here, this feeds me, I'm so excited? Or were you like, oh, I just have to go to this job because I have to have money, right? Yes. And so your life is going to give you scenarios and situations that clarify what truly means, what truly has value for you. The other thing about core values is that we have been conditioned to believe that some values make us good, while some make us bad or selfish. So this goes back to society. This also goes back to family. This also goes back to religion. So you may value something that you're told from the outside world that, oh, if you value that, you're selfish or you're bad. And so you become quiet about it. You don't want to admit it to people. You don't want to be like, oh, they're going to judge me for this because I value this. So sometimes it's really hard to find out what your core value is. You have to be brutally honest with yourself about what they really are. If I fulfill on this need, doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And I have a really good example of that, actually. I didn't even think about it till right now, but we need to be willing to consider that we have values that we have been conditioned to believe are not acceptable. So I am going to share this story. Right now I'm fostering this little tiny puppy dog, the cutest thing in the entire world. I've had him for about a month, and I decided about 2 weeks ago that I'm not going to keep him. Everybody is like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be a puppy foster fail. We just know it. And I had decided that I am at a point in my life where I'm going to choose myself. I'm not putting anybody else's needs in front of my own. I am choosing myself. I had a conversation last night about like how this friend of mine could not understand. He's the perfect dog. He's the perfect, like literally the perfect dog. He listens, he cuddles, like he wraps his little arms around your neck and kisses you. It's the sweetest thing ever. But I was like, I've already made a decision. I've chosen to choose myself right now. And people outside, everyone I know is like, I can't believe you're going to do that. I can't believe you're not going to keep him. And I'm like, that's the thing, is you don't have to understand what my value is. I get to understand what my value is, and I get to stand in my value no matter what anybody says. And this is the first time in my life that I've actually been able to do that. And it's actually super empowering and really, really, it just feels good. And you don't have to say it in a mean way, right? You're conditioned to think that, oh, it's selfish of you to choose yourself over this little dog. Okay. Like you can believe that. I'm okay with that, right? So just recognize that something that you value, it may be hidden because you're afraid of judgment from others, or you're afraid that you will be seen as bad or selfish for you valuing that thing. The other thing that your core values, how to find your core values, is your strong emotions will show you what they are. So when we feel upset, angry, or triggered about something, we need to look really closely at it. It is essentially threatening one of your core values. So one of my core values is harmony. And so anytime someone starts to argue or fight, I have two teenagers, and so that happens, right? And I'm immediately like, oh, whoa, wait. Let's see if we can figure this out before it ends up being like a thing. Or then I get triggered and I'm like, no, we are not fighting. And I'm the one yelling, right? And so I know that harmony is one of my core values because it triggers this big emotion in me, right? But then also the same thing, when we feel happy, excited, fulfilled about something, we need to look closely at it. It's showing us what is our value. What do we value in the situation? So I mentioned that one of mine is growth. One of my values is growth. So anytime I can go learn about something, anytime I can grow myself personally, emotionally, I am 100% there, 100% in. I will spend the money. I will do the thing. So whenever you feel that excitement or that happiness, that is showing you what you value. So this is just a very short list of the long list of core values. So on this list, we have accomplishment, adventure, autonomy, being, belonging, communication, creation, discovery, ease, expression, freedom, growth, honesty, impact, influence, justice, legacy, nature, order, presence, play, recognition, security, sovereignty, stability, transparency, validation, uniqueness, wonder, and workability. So with this list, again, this is a short list of the very long list. What I love about core values is that each one of these words on this list is going to hold a different meaning for each person. So we can use freedom, for example. Does anybody want to tell me what freedom means to them? Does anyone want to unmute themselves and tell me what freedom means to them? You don't have to. I have good examples.
This is Devin. I have one.
Okay.
I think freedom to me could mean like spontaneity, like in any given moment I can choose kind of what my path is. I think that's kind of what I'm picking up.
Love that one. Yes, perfect.
Yep. Thank you for putting that so eloquently.
Thank you.
Sounds very familiar. Yeah, I think freedom means being able to me, being able to live unapologetically as myself.
I love that one too.
Whoever, I'm trying to figure out who that is, but hey.
That's perfect. That's why you're here, right?
Yeah. Better late than never.
Yes, absolutely. Does anybody else have a different meaning for freedom? Okay, so freedom can also mean freedom financially. So you are going to work really hard, pay off your house, pay off your car so that you can live in financial freedom, right? Freedom can also mean that you are willing to go to war so that we can live in the land of the free. So there's lots of different definitions. So you can meet someone and they can say, oh, impact is one of my core values. And instead of going, that's weird. Impact, why? You can ask, oh, really? What does that mean to you? What does impact mean to you? So you can better understand that person. Instead of just assuming that you know the answer, have them talk about it. Because when you have someone talk about what their core value is, you will see them light up and want to tell you everything, right? And so you can also have things that you value that are not necessarily your core values. So we typically will have 3 core values that are our number, like our top 3 core values. So for my example, mine is harmony, growth, and adventure. But every day I have a day planner. On the top of it every day, it says, what is your intention today? And I always write to feel accomplished. Accomplishment is not one of my values because I don't feel accomplished every day. And I don't do something every day to be accomplished. But most days my intent is to feel accomplished, like I actually did something. And so I can see that I have there's value in that, but it's not what I absolutely have to have in order to feel fulfilled in life. So looking at this list, do any of you guys feel like a little ping or like, yeah, that's for sure me? Does anybody have a word here that stands out?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. I'm like, I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into my core values, before knowing that this event was going to happen. So I've been doing a little thought, and two of mine are on here. So I was thinking, sovereignty is very important to me, and adventure is also something that just lights me up. When you were talking about just, going to check out a new restaurant as adventure, I'm like, yes, I totally understand that. And it is absolutely one of those things that just lights me up.
Oh, perfect. So what does sovereignty mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. Sovereignty to me is really just being able to stand very strong in my own personal will, and recognize that any power to move or express in this world comes from within. And it feels, I kind of, when sovereignty comes into the picture, divine will also comes into the picture for me. So, really using the free will that I've been gifted, as a human to align with divine will and live in sovereignty and integrity. So,
Beautiful. I love that.
thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to share anything that they see on here?
Honesty.
Honesty. What does honesty mean to you?
Not being lied to or not trying to be someone that you are not.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Just general.
Right. Yeah. And, like honesty sometimes can be a tricky one because we have to decipher if that honesty is coming through because of an experience that we had, or have you always held honesty to a value where you are always honest and you can almost like tell when somebody is not being honest because it's so like in you. And so that's why when we go through a session, we go through a long list of questions, clarifying questions that narrows it down. Because like I said, this is a short list of the big list. And so we need to narrow down to 3 things. That's kind of a big deal. Okay. So knowing your values and living by them is the difference between going through the motions of life and really living. And that's what I noticed I was doing with my life, as I was like, I was just going along. I was just creating and doing what I was told and thinking that I had the right thing. And then when you give yourself a moment to stop and check in, I was just like, I told Hannah right before people got on the call, I was like, I want to live. I'm like, I actually want to live. Like, I want to have this like feeling of being alive. And what I was doing did not help me feel alive. So we feel something is off or wrong in our lives, but we can't put a finger on it. And it's because we are not living to our core values. Oops. So we're going to talk for a minute about core values and relationships. Core values will always show up in every relationship that you have. The first one, it will show up with yourself. When you put your soul's desires first, you begin to choose things that make you happy, and you learn how to set boundaries for things that don't. So you're going to start to ask yourself, when somebody asks you to do something or you're going to do something, you're going to ask yourself, does this align with what I value? How does it make me feel when I'm doing this thing? When you find your center, when you're able to answer those questions, you begin to live authentically you, authentic to your heart, to your soul, and the things that mean something to you. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, that will mean setting boundaries for things that don't. And that can show up in something that you do, how you show up, how people speak to you, or how you speak to people. That one of my favorite sayings is, there's no drama in truth. There's only drama on the road to truth. So getting that path, if you stay on your path, you might feel you experience some drama, but once you've set the boundary, you are living your most truest and authentic self. And then your values show up with your partner. When you and your partner know what each other's core values are, you are able to see the needs of each other and choose accordingly. So imagine that your partner's core value is nature. Nature feeds them. They feel good when they're in nature. They just love to be outside. What you're going to do is encourage them to go on nature hikes. You're going to encourage them to get outside. Maybe you both create a little place in your yard that makes them feel good when they're outside. You plan picnics. You can do things that help them with their value. And then if your partner knows that your core value is recognition, they're going to show up and do things like, oh my gosh, the house looks so nice today. Thank you so much for cleaning, right? Or this dinner is amazing. It tastes so good, right? When we know what each other's values are, we can choose to show up that way for each other. And we can make choices, and this goes with our partners and with our children, to do things that match each other's core values. So like mine is, and we'll move on to children, but mine is adventure. My son's is presence. So he doesn't want to go anywhere. He just wants me to be with him, right? And so when I word things, I say things like, hey, do you want to go for a drive up the canyon with me, just you and me? And we can talk to each other, and it's just going to be you and me. Nobody else is there. And he's like, okay. Like he pauses because he's like, wait, I don't really want to go somewhere, but it is just you and me. So, okay. So we try to word things, and you can do this with your partner or your children, so that you're both getting your needs met, right? And then with our children, it's kind of funny because we want our core values for our children. And so we end up struggling with our kids because we're like, why don't you want this? And they don't have any meaning for it. And so we end up in this battle of wills, per se, that's like, you should want to do this. And they're like, yeah, but I don't. And that becomes worse or stronger as the child becomes a teenager, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're just a teenager. And I have this conversation a lot with a lot of families, is I'm like, no, what they just value something different. But if you can tell them why you value what you're trying to get them to do, they might have an understanding, right? So if you can understand each other, and this is why I value respect, per se, and then they'd be like, oh, okay, I'll meet you halfway. Right? So when we understand our children's core values, we're able to allow them to be who they are, and then encourage them to do things that bring them happiness. When we can start to encourage their core values, it builds confidence in them and their uniqueness, and it also helps their decision making. So it's really cool. And then work. Imagine having a job that understood what sparked your joy and could encourage your growth. So imagine that one of your core values is impact, and you just want to make an impact in some way. And so you apply for a job and they hire you as a data entry person. So you sit at a desk and you type away all day. Chances are you're not going to feel fulfilled. So for some reason, I can't spit that out. But you might end up within the company somewhere trying to make an impact, whether it's for the employees, you get part of the human resources to plan parties or whatnot. You'll try to make it happen, but your day-to-day, you will feel unfulfilled. Where if your company knows that you want to make an impact, they're going to help you find a position where you can make an impact, because then you're going to show up excited and happy every day to do that. And then not only will you thrive, but the company also thrives because you are so passionate about what you're doing. So that's how core values will show up in all of your different types of relationships. Does anyone have questions on any of those? No? Okay. When the things that we do and the way we behave match our core values, we experience an overall life satisfaction, happiness, well-being, and fulfillment. Living by our core values allows us to be in a life of thriving, flourishing, creating, and building. So these are questions to ask yourself. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg, a very short list of some of the questions that we ask in a session. What has held meaning to me my whole life? So this is something that you've always done and you just think it's normal. Things that you've always done that you just think everybody does, right? What lights me up? What are the things that you do, that you experience, that really like lights you up from the inside, right? And then what triggers me? What are the things that make me angry? What are the things that you're like, oh my gosh, no, right? Look at those things. I love this question. What do I wish people understood about me? That is a powerful, powerful question. It's one of those ones where I said, we sometimes hide so deeply what we value because we don't want to be judged by someone. Where if you just, I wish people knew this about me without any of the judgment. What motivates me? What are the things that you do daily that gets you out of bed, that puts a smile on your face, that gets you moving? When was I the proudest of myself? And what do I wish I had in my life right now? So does anybody want to answer any of those questions? Kind of putting you on the spot a little bit. Okay, that's okay. So in a session, we go through a whole list of questions. Another one that I really love is, there's actually two that I'm actually going to add on to here that I love. The first one is, what do I spend my money on? Like, what do you spend your money on, right? For me, I will spend my money on learning anytime. I'm like, oh, I've got to save up for this class. I can't buy this. I can't buy that. I can't buy this. But I will definitely put all my money to learning a class, to learning something new, to growing, any of those types of things. And then I love this question. And people kind of get really funny about it when I ask because they're afraid to answer. But it is, what do I judge other people for? And when you think about that, when you're judging someone else, it actually says more about you than it does about the person that you're judging, because it says something about what means something to you, right? So if you're, for example, if you're judging someone for the clothes that they wear, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at what they're wearing. What does that actually mean about you? It might mean that you value presence, that your presence means something, and so you're going to walk into a room dressing a certain way. So it has nothing, it's not a bad thing about you. It's just showing you what has and holds meaning for you, right? And it means nothing bad about the person that you're judging either. It's just showing you what has value to you. So that's the end of my slideshow. I'm going to have a cute little thank you. That's me. So I can stop sharing. Does anybody have like any questions or anything that they'd like to talk about within core values?
That was incredible, Shandell. Thank you. And I'm curious, one thing, I didn't ask it in the slide, but when you have children, how do you identify what their core values are? Like, can you just inherently tell, like, by the way that they act and speak and react to things, what their core values are?
Yeah, so learning your kids' core values is a little bit tricky because they're too young to really understand what that means. Mm-hmm. But if you pay attention and be curious about your children, they're going to show you naturally. Because like I said, what you value, you have always valued. So a lot of people, if you don't have one yourself, you know someone who has one, is kind of that autonomy child who will not wear what you want them to wear, who will not let you put their seatbelt on, who will not hold your hand to walk across the street, right? So it's like they are who they are, and they're like, you're not going to tell me. And that's the thing about, growing up in a family and society is we're like, oh no, we are going to tell you because we're your mother, right? And I learned this lesson with my daughter when she was 3 years old. We were fighting every day about what she wanted to wear because I had all these cute frilly dresses and I'm like, you're going to be so cute and like cute pigtails. And she was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to wear the same outfit every day and you're not touching my hair. And I'm like, no. And so we battled for like a solid week. And I was like, wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? She's telling me what's important to her. And we're like, do I want to fight with her the rest of my life? No, I don't. And so I just allowed her to be who she was. I allowed her to be autonomous, and like we have the most incredible relationship. And I continued, like she just made her decision of which college to go to last night.
Oh wow.
Like, Mom, I made that decision all by myself. And I'm like, I know, I'm so proud of you. Like it was such an incredible moment for her to be like, I made this decision. And that's why, like I said, when you can tune into your children, and it's really all about being curious. It's in core values, it's all about being curious, whether you're doing a session with someone or you're just trying to kind of figure it out for your partner or your friends or your children. Start noticing, start being curious about what they do naturally, and they'll show you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Last minute thoughts?
I want to thank you for going ahead and doing this.
You are so welcome.
It's more than I could have hoped for.
Oh, good.
As usual, right where I'm supposed to be. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, well, okay, I'm building a new life. So maybe I need to find out something about core values.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot.
Oh, good.
And now my usual curiosity is piqued. So I want to know more. Good. Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. And feel free to reach out over Guidely. Do you like attach my information or something?
Yeah. So Shandell has a profile within Guidely community. So if you look at the member directory or you type in her name, I'll also tag her in a post in the community after this. You can just connect with her via message and send her a message, or you can post in the community thread and tag her and ask questions. Those are two really great ways to get a hold of her within the community.
Yes. And I'm always like, I am so passionate about this because it literally changed the trajectory of my life when I realized what my core values were and how living by them leads you on the path to your happiness. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. And it shows up all the time for me now. Right. And so because of the choices I make, it's been powerful. It's been really changing. So yeah, and I'm happy to answer any questions about any of those types of things.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks for being here, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Right.
So Sandra, Stephanie sent a message. So we were thanking Stephanie, but we also thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't think we were calling you Stephanie.
I'm going, okay. I didn't really realize there was anybody here. So
yeah. So
cool.
yeah, thank you all so much for coming. And yeah, if you have any questions, just reach out to me over Guidely, and I'm happy to have a session with you or just answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shandell.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome.